Vanessa, we're good?
Yes.
Thank you. I will call this December 29th, 2022 meeting of the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners to order, our last meeting of the year. Will all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Lisa, would you lead us in the pledge?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. Row officer reports and comments. We have no row officers with us today. Public comments. Any member of the public wishing to make a comment? Seeing none. Fiscal and contractual, we only have, but 3 warrant registers for the day, from December 22nd, December 21st, and December 19th. My colleagues have been checking over those, or you haven't checked over those?
I will move to accept the 3 warrant registers.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Give me 1 second here. Trying to see if, maybe that'll be next week. Trying to see if our $100, if we go on salary board during the meeting, and I'm curious if it's on the warrant register to go out with payroll.
Oh, okay.
The Board of Commissioners will note this, just again, this will come up at salary board, and this will come up at, because we're gonna have to do a couple of memorandums with the unions.
Right.
We authorized, 100, we were in a great fiscal position right now. And we authorized $100 to go out per employee, to help them out with their holiday dinners, with their Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's hams. I guess probably not a Hanukkah ham. But
Celebrations.
kosher cheese, you know. But that'll, again, that'll be, it'll actually be officially ratified at the next salary board meeting, and then we'll pass some stuff here in terms of the unions, but I just didn't want to note that one out. I just figured to see if it was on the board register. But we have motion second, any further discussion, hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Tuesday, December 20th, 2022 minutes. I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and take a motion on the minutes. Bless you.
So moved.
Second, we have a motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have 1 written communication today. It's a permit modification application submitted to the DEP from the plant manager of Newcastle Power, which owns and operates the power station in West Pittsburgh. They're just renewing their, or modifying their operating permit. I'll note, as I always do, the Board of Commissioners does not have authority to green light or red light these types of permits. We're only required to be notified that such permits are being applied for in Lawrence County under Pennsylvania law. And so that's all this really is. They're just notifying us as per law. But I'll take a motion to accept the file correspondence.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. If you flip to the back, you each should have a sheet that looks something like this.
Mhm.
If you don't, there you go. I'd be happy to give you mine if it's not not in there. But these are our amendments to the budget. Most of them are clerical. So for example, I tried to group them. You can see the squares that you should consider that to be effectively one amendment. It's one kind of, so like the first one is the election integrity grant. I talked to the controller's office for the regulations associated with that grant. The money for the expenditures has to come directly out of the grant. We don't flow it to the general fund. And so that's reflected in that first one. It's just we're originally I had a revenue line item in the general fund where we would move the election integrity money to. This removes that line item and moves the expenses from the general fund to the election integrity grant, if that makes sense.
Mhm,
Same thing with the opioid funding that we're using to offset, they're exactly the same thing.
right,
Just instead of moving the revenue to the general fund, we're moving the expenses to the opioid fund. The emergency management decrease, that's paid for out of a grant. So we were able to remove that from the general fund. That's just paid for out of our I forget what the exact grant is. It's one of our ENA grants section of the budget. Children and youth services, that's just moving some undesignated funding to a designated funding category. APO administrative, this just creates a budgetary mechanism through which we can flow APO admin $100,000 into the general fund. So it's already in the general fund. There's a separate APO administrative fund. All that does is it allows the money to flow from the APO administrative to the general fund. The budget's, it's like a web, if you picture it. That's the APO administrative. The appropriated fund balance, educational allotments, that's in there. Put 100,000 in if we decide, however much we decide to fund for CCBC. So that's going in there for that. And I know we're gonna have more discussions on that, but I just wanted to make sure that made it into the budget. We got a request in from Westminster College relating to their school of nursing. I just put a number in there. Again, we'll determine what the funding amount is, but I know we want to get them something to help out with their nursing program, and we can take that out of the American Rescue Plan. I also put some money in for infrastructure projects in the event that we want to do infrastructure projects out of the American Rescue Plan Act fund. That doesn't have an impact on the general fund. I just wanted to include that line item. The next one is our capital budget for next year. You can see our capital expenses or what we have planned. There are 3 vehicle purchases. We're looking at 2 new sheriff's vehicles, 1 new recycling truck. We have JPO's tasers, and then we have the second payment for the jail security cameras. There'll likely be an amendment sometime throughout next year relating to some of our ongoing IT improvements. Right now, those are our capital expenses. If we do incur some IT expenses, that fund is fully capitalized, and so we won't have any issues moving some money around out of that capital fund. Let's skip that for 1 second, but I'll come back to it. Commissioners we received notification about a week ago that our liability insurance is looking to increase more than what I had originally projected. Originally, I projected a 10% increase on the advice of P Corp. I increased that to 20%, and that's the difference between 10% and 20% is $53,000. So that's included in there. The 911 fund is the bane of my existence. It has been the bane of my existence for at least 3 budget cycles. This is rewriting the 911 fund. Every damn year it gets me. And then the bottom one is our workman's comp dividend. John Saladay contacted, again, about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, the notification that we'd be getting that workman's comp dividend, which actually ended up working out well because it offsets some increases that we saw in the 911 fund. To turn your attention back to the one that we skipped over, the appropriated fund balance and agricultural development, I reached out to Debbie Kennedy yesterday. I was going through and compiling some of these amendments, and I asked her, just out of curiosity, I said, Debbie, how much would it take to clear the chute in terms of the backlog and ag preservation? What would it take from the county to be able to preserve every farm that we currently have on the roster?
on the waiting list,
On the waiting list.
yes.
And the rationale being, we've got a significant amount of American Rescue Plan Act dollars sitting at 10 million, not 10 million total American Rescue Plan. We've got a nice fund balance, and we can do some nice things in the community. I know this board in the past has prioritized agricultural preservation. The total amount that Debbie said they would need is $150,000. We already have $35,000 in there for next year. So I wanted to put, if we can, and again, we can take that if you guys don't want to do it. I just wanted to put it in there for consideration. Taking $115,000 out of our $10 million reserve, adding it to ag preservation, and literally preserving every single farm that we have currently in the chute. We'd be able to match that against the state. State would provide us somewhere from $400,000 to $500,000, and we'd again be able to get some more farms preserved. But that's the only sort of policy. I'll turn it over to you guys if you guys have an interest in doing that. If you don't, I'll turn it over to you for what you want to do there.
No, I think we'll just wait on it and go from there. It's in there. If we decide we want to do something with it, we will. If not, part or all, or in full or whatnot, we can discuss that at a later time. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
questions on the amendments?
Now, is that the,
The first is the amendments and the second is the passage,
okay,
if that's what you're gonna ask.
well, Vanessa gave us a,
There's some other amendments, but they're for this 2022
Right.
budget.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
Nothing's been eliminated, correct, with the changes?
No,
Nothing, I mean,
I thought about,
just movement,
yeah, it's all clerical.
okay.
The only thing that I thought about eliminating, and I'm gonna hold off on until we've had some conversations with the judge, with Judge Motto, is we downsized, well, Carter was downsized before we came on board, in terms of staff capacity. We downsized and moved their judicial aides from 4 to 3. There is a retirement right now out of Russo's office, and it makes sense at this time to probably downsize that office, because if Ramodi can handle it with 3, Rick can handle it with 3. That being said, the only thing that I would have eliminated is that. I left that in there until we talked to the judge and get some things sorted out. But yeah, no, nothing here's, if anything, the budget's going up, not down. But any budget amendments that you guys wish to offer?
Not for me.
No,
All right, we'll make this resolution.
We skipped over commissioner reports and comments.
Yeah, I'll tie right back to this if you.
But
Or
whatever-
I'll tell you what. Let's run through the resolutions, then we can tie it up at the end. If that sounds good to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
424.
424. I'll take a motion to amend the 2023 Lawrence County budget per the attached spreadsheet.
so moved.
Second,
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel,
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler,
yes,
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. 420, I have a pen with me. 425.
Yes.
I'm good. I'll
here,
just check.
no, because I've got one.
Thank you.
Yep.
425, this actually passes the budget with those amendments. Questions, comments on the budget? Hearing none, I'll take a motion on 425.
so moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes,
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, we have our friends from the jail to talk about a potential PCCD grant that we may wish to apply for. Lisa Ward, I don't know which one of you wishes to approach the bench, but either one of you is always welcome up. How you doing today?
Oh,
Well, I'm coming off.
ready to start another year?
Mhm.
Awesome.
water bottle,
Right.
I'll get you one.
No, I'm good. It's, yeah, it's coming up. What do we have going on?
Okay, so it's the PCC grant. It's looking for more of a collaborative effort between CJAB and the SCA. So we already have meetings set up with Lawrence County Drug and Alcohol to work on prioritizing the needs for the county. And it's gonna be not just focused on opioids, but all substance use. So we're going to expand on that program, adding Suboxone and methadone. And also, we're gonna prioritize individual reentry planning for anybody with a substance use disorder, just not opioids. So that's the focus. Looking to get overdose deaths down in the county. So in
Yeah.
2019, there were 30. In 2020, there were 38. In 2021, there were 57. This year, so far, as of the 23rd, there were 84. So.
Well, and our problem, Joe and I were talking about this today, our Lawrence County strategy seems to be just to flood, flood the system with, what's the revitalization drug? Narcan. Obviously, that's not a long-term strategy to actually have effect on bringing those numbers down. So I thank you guys for bringing this to us as a potential way to help get those numbers down. I know we're looking at doing some things with our opioids fund too, that's more than, just the Narcan, just because, again, as a strategy, it's not working out too well for us.
Right.
So I think we don't really have an overarching strategy in solving the opioid epidemic right now, but in terms of putting together a piecemeal, at least in the short term, hopefully this will help out some of the guys on the streets, not die.
Right.
So, any other questions, comments?
No.
Take a motion to approve 426.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Up next, we have our final budget amendments for the 2022 budget. And these are clerical in nature. So I basically just said put them on the budget. I put them on the agenda because the money's going to be shifted. This is more of a formality than it is anything. But the first one, which would be 427, I guess it's already paid. But it's it's a budget amendment for the debt service fund. Our capital projects. For the debt service fund. And what it does is it creates a budgetary mechanism through which we can pay down that well, it was originally $1.5 million loan. As you can see here, it was paid down to $788,560. The Board of Commissioners authorized through normal fiscal processes an early pay down of that loan just to get it off our books to pay down some debt that saved the county $120,000 or $150,000 a year in repayments. Again, we're certainly fortunate to be in a position to be able to pay down debt early. And actually, in doing this, we have no more debt that we are able to pay down early. So all the other debt on our books, because the controller and I looked into this, all the other debt on our books, none of our other debt has early pay down provisions. So we're locked into the amortization schedules unless we decide to refinance, which right now we don't want to do. This is the last of our debt that can be paid down early. So it's I think certainly a prudent fiscal move by this board. But again, this is just a formality budget transfer that they've already paid it, but allows them to pay it. Questions, comments on that? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Morgan, this next one?
Yep.
I thought the resolution was supposed to be attached to the,
Oh, for the
So,
thing,
yeah.
so we don't have to worry about this.
No, you can skip the next.
Gotcha.
There is a next one.
Yep.
Okay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, we've been running into this, again, we're dealing with multiple budgets, and so it gets, there's one's 23, one's 22, so it gets a little confusing. No problem at all. Couple minor ones here. We have, Corner, needs some money for the Easy Pass, so we're transferring some end of year money, from his materials and supplies, he has an underage into his travel account. And then Commissioners, we're $61 short our cable fund, which I figure is probably an appropriate way to end the year, paying the cable bill. So I'll take a motion to approve those administrative transfers.
so moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No warrants is on the table for introduction for final action. I'm going to do the announcements and I'll do commissioners' comments, then we'll turn it over to public. Next commissioners meeting will be held in 2023, first of 2023, Tuesday, January 3rd at 10 a.m. in the commissioners' meeting room. The annual salary board meeting, which is coincidentally the only meeting by law that we're required to have,
Right,
will be held on January 9th, first Monday of the first working Monday of the month at 1:30 p.m. in the commissioners' meeting room, and hopefully that'll be a short agenda. Vanessa and I are working to pull together those resolutions now. The first public meeting of the Lawrence County Opioid Advisory Board will be held January 3rd, 2023 at 12:00 noon in this room. And then this courthouse will be closed on Monday, January 2nd in observance of New Year's Day. And on that, I will take it to commissioner reports and comments. I have nothing. Dan, you're on deck.
Thank you, Chairman Boyd. I have two things. I'll try to keep them very brief. I was able to represent the Board of Commissioners last Thursday in Elwood City Borough for the opening of the new Sheetz on 5th Street and Glen Avenue. And they had a nice crowd. We made note of the fact that it is now the 4th Sheetz in Lawrence County. The one in Neshannock Township, one in Union Township, the one in Elwood City, and then The one out on 422, somebody told me once that the township line runs right through that sheet. So part of it's in Shenango Township, part of it's in Slippery Rock Township. I need to check with either JR or Alan just to find out, but I've been told that it straddles both townships. But anyway, the fourth sheets, and glad to see that. Well, if you'll indulge me for just a moment on a lighter note, I came across, and it was just coincidental that, speaking of coming across things, earlier this morning, Commissioner Boyd and I happened to bump into Mayor Fry upstairs. I came across a newspaper article from 1940, Newcastle News, talks about the mayor at the time.
How does one come across something from 1940?
It's,
That's your historical
yeah,
mindset,
I think
always
it's-
looking at things like that.
always looking up old things, and since I'm an old guy, I look up old things. But back then, the mayor of the city had a different area of authority that the mayor no longer has, and that is the mayor served as a court that for various offenses, when people were arrested in the city of Newcastle, they would be brought to the city building, which at the time was down on the corner of Washington Street and East Street, where the PNC parking lot is. That's where the city building was. And they actually, the people who were charged were actually brought in front of the mayor, and he adjudicated those charges. Now that has, of course, gone by the wayside. But this story caught my eye. I think it's funny. So if you'll allow me to read it. The headline is, Mayor continues war on wedding party horn blowers. You're already laughing. Mayor Charles B. Maine rode the running board. Now, automobiles had what were called running boards.
Mhm.
They were like little steps on either side of the doors that you could kind of stand on to get into the car. It's
They
what
still have those.
do they still have running? Yes, they do, on bigger vehicles. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mayor Charles B. Maine rode the running board of a commandeered auto for several miles on Saturday as he ordered its driver to give chase to a large party of Ohio-based wedding horn honkers. And this morning, the driver of the car that he enlisted for the pursuit paid a $25 fine in the city police court because, as the mayor said, quote, he was not as cooperative on the chase as he might have been, unquote. The charge against him was disorderly conduct. The driver, Frank Marr, age 21, of Ridgeway Street, Struthers, Ohio, one of the wedding celebrators, was taken into custody by Mayor Maine on Saturday. The mayor had that authority to bring him into custody, and was released late at night on a $100 property bond. Mr. Marr sat in City Hall for some hours waiting for friends to arrange his bond. Police Chief William G. McMullen said some of Marr's friends brought him part of the wedding cake with his evening meal. Now this goes on. Mr. Marr received a stern lecture from Mayor Maine today. Quote, you can go out and tell all wedding parties that they'd better arrange to have $100 ready for fines in the future if they want to include the noisy horn-blowing ceremonies, the mayor told Marr, unquote. And then, quote again, Mayor said, I've had enough. I could put all kinds of charges against you, for you were a real disturbance. You didn't help much, and you deliberately delayed the car because you wanted the others to get away. Well, it looks like you're the goat. I thought if you brought those friends in, we'd make other arrangements, but here you are. I think $25 will sting you as much as $100. So it will be $25 or 30 days in the county jail, unquote. The mayor said that he jumped on Marr's running board on South Jefferson Street and stayed on it until the party was well out in Union Township along Route 422. Quote, if this keeps up, the city's chief executive warned, I'll get a bride and groom one of these times too, unquote. The mayor made it clear he has no intention of spoiling wedding fun, but he also gave strong indication he has no intention of passing up loud and unnecessary downtown demonstrations. Quote, you couldn't have heard the siren of an ambulance or a fire engine with all that racket on Saturday, the mayor said. So I thought that might,
Imagine jumping on a car in downtown Newcastle, riding it to Walmart.
yeah,
No
Yes,
cell phones.
yes, right.
no cell phones. So I gave a copy of this to Mayor Fry, just to,
There you go.
I doubt Mayor Fry has ever done anything like
Yeah.
this, but how times have changed.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But thank you for indulging me.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year to all of you and to everyone in the room and everyone who's listening.
Don't celebrate by honking the horn.
No more
You're
horn
right. It reminded me, back in the day, you know, when people got married, the wedding party would ride around town honking horns
True.
and doing that. Yes, I hadn't thought of that in many, many years, but it used to happen.
They would
It used
tie
to happen.
tin cans to the
Mhm.
back of the car.
Mhm.
Those would make a lot of noise.
Yeah. So that was the ruckus.
Mayor Maine did not like the horn blowing,
No.
obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just reiterate what Dan said. I don't have anything as amusing as that, so I will just wish everyone a healthy, happy, prosperous New Year. Yes.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we will adjourn the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners for the 2022 year.
Very good.
Excellent.
How's the warden today?